Seduction as a subtle, nonverbal language. Think of seduction not as a blunt instrument, but as a nuanced, primarily nonverbal language. Your primary objective is to study this language until you achieve absolute mastery over it. In the art of seduction, the core philosophy hinges on a fundamental shift in perspective. Seduction is a game of psychology rather than physical appearance. To successfully navigate human relationships, you must first learn to speak the silent dialect of gestures, energy, and psychological tension that operates beneath everyday conversations, the thick defensive walls of the 21st century. The people around you in daily life have erected massive psychological walls. These defenses are designed to protect them from intruders, aggressive advertisers, meddling outsiders, and the endless digital distractions of the 21st century. People today are inherently defensive and deeply guarded. Naturally, they are not automatically interested in who you are, what your ideas are, or in building a relationship with you. Recognizing this natural state of human resistance is the vital starting point for any meaningful influence, the true objective of the seductive game. The ultimate objective of seduction is to gradually lower those thick emotional walls, making them thinner and more permeable over time. Your goal is to identify specific penetrating points to bypass their defenses and enter their minds. True psychological power is achieved when you are no longer physically present, yet the other person cannot stop thinking about you. By occupying their inner world and thoughts in a highly positive, captivating manner during your absence, you have successfully won the game. The pitfalls of over-obvious approaches. If you are entirely too obvious about your intentions, you will trigger an immediate defensive reaction. Relying on cliched pickup lines and transparent motives only causes a person's defensive walls to grow thicker and more resilient. When your agenda is painfully clear, human nature dictates that resistance will skyrocket. Seduction requires a far more subterranean approach. It must feel entirely organic, woven into your natural energy and personality, so that the target never consciously realizes they are being pursued. Embodying the core archetypes of attraction. True charisma emanates directly from your character without requiring a single spoken word. Whether you naturally embody the traits of the siren, the rake, or the natural, among the various archetypes of seducers, the attraction should feel like an effortless extension of your personality. This magnetic pull is fueled by your deep-seated confidence and inner security. When you possess an authentic sense of grounding, that energy radiates outward, naturally drawing people toward you without the need for forced persuasion. The silent eloquence of thoughtful gestures. The language of seduction relies heavily on unconventional actions and unexpected behavior. When planning an outing, avoid predictable, uninspired choices. Instead, take someone to an enchanting, unfamiliar place that catches them entirely by surprise. The same principle applies to gift giving. Avoid generic tokens like expensive flowers. Instead, practice the art of active listening. By staying quiet and letting the other person talk, you can capture subtle details about their passions and later surprise them with a deeply thoughtful gift that reflects their true spirit. Mastering the delicate balance of absence and presence. Fascinating others requires an intentional mastery over mystery and the strategic modulation of absence and presence. If you are constantly in someone's face, bombarding them with daily texts, emails, and phone calls, you suffocate the dynamic and destroy all intrigue. Conversely, disappearing entirely for weeks will only breed resentment and forgetfulness. You must strike a delicate, calculated balance. Know precisely when to show up and exactly when to pull back for a day or two to give their imagination room to breathe. The psychological necessity of creating space. Allowing a few days to pass without contact might initially feel a bit cold, but a controlled measure of distance is essential to the mating game. In the quiet space of your temporary absence, the other person's mind begins to wander. They will start wondering if they said something wrong, or if your interest is waning. This subtle uncertainty forces them to fixate on you, shifting their focus toward finding ways to please you. The moment they begin actively analyzing you in your absence, the psychological battle is half won. The animal confidence of Errol Flynn. Consider the historical example of Hollywood actor Errol Flynn, one of the most prolific seducers in history. When analyzing the secret behind his immense appeal, biographies reveal that it was rooted in an extraordinary sense of relaxation and self-assuredness. Actresses noted that merely sitting next to him felt as comforting and intoxicating as drinking 2 martinis. This raw, animal-like comfort within his own skin demonstrates that authentic confidence and an undefensive posture are infinitely more seductive than flawless physical beauty. Why true confidence cannot be faked. Authentic confidence cannot be performatively faked through empty bravado or an arrogant act. Human intuition, particularly when sharpened by years of navigating social dynamics, can instantly spot fake confidence from a mile away. Insecurity inevitably leaks out through subtle micro-expressions, no matter how hard you try to mask it. Real confidence cannot be conjured out of thin air. It must be built upon a solid foundation of real-world skills, tangible achievements, met goals, and a proven track record of overcoming life's challenges. The brutal truth of the law of absence. There is a brutal, unyielding reality of human psychology that most people spend their entire lives desperately trying to ignore. Human beings do not value what is constantly available. It does not matter how loyal, giving, or supportive you are. If you are perpetually accessible and always the one reaching out, you will eventually be taken for granted. This is not a malicious flaw in the other person, but an inherent quirk of human nature itself. The person who is always present inevitably loses their power. How constant availability breeds invisibility. When something is endlessly guaranteed, the human brain automatically categorizes it as background noise. Much like the electricity in your home, you stop marveling at it simply because it is always there. This is the ultimate tragedy for genuinely loving, loyal people. They become entirely invisible to those they care about most, not because they did something wrong, but because they did everything right by never leaving. To restore your value, you must interrupt this pattern by removing your constant availability, redirecting your energy inward. Stepping back into silence should never be used as a petty punishment or a manipulative tactical game to make someone crawl back. Instead, you must pull back your availability to actively redirect your time, emotion, and attention away from someone who stopped reciprocating, pouring it squarely back into yourself. While the initial silence may feel incredibly uncomfortable, it forces an open psychological loop in the other person's mind, naturally compelling them to fixate on your sudden absence and reevaluate your worth, reclaiming self-worth in the silence. The true transformation of pulling away does not depend on whether the other person returns. It is about what happens to your own psyche during the absence. When you stop obsessively analyzing unreturned texts and outsourced validation, you return to your true self. You reclaim the internal self-worth that a lopsided relationship had quietly eroded. By stepping away from dynamics where you consistently shrank yourself to fit into a small space, you allow your quiet power and posture to return, overcoming the trap of insecure attachment. We frequently tolerate a diminished valuation of our worth, because our early childhood environments conditioned our nervous systems to associate love with emotional inconsistency. If you grew up believing that attention had to be anxiously earned, your adult brain will naturally mistake the exhausting pursuit of emotionally unavailable people for genuine passion. Breaking this toxic cycle requires realizing that what you often call chemistry is actually just the familiar recognition of an unhealed psychological wound. The true definition of a personal boundary. Self-worth is not an abstract feeling. It is an active daily practice of making choices aligned with your value. Many capable people suffer from a massive gap between the worth they intellectually know they have and the poor treatment they actively tolerate. To fix this, you must understand that a real boundary is not a screaming wall meant to keep others out. It is an internal standard of what you are willing to experience, and it must carry immediate consequences. A boundary without consequences is merely a preference, eliminating fear-based decisions. True, lasting transformation begins with a single firm commitment. You must completely stop acting out of fear. You can no longer make decisions based on the fear of losing someone, the fear of being lonely, or the fear of appearing too difficult. When you transition to operating strictly from a foundation of core values rather than anxiety, your communication instantly shifts. You stop dropping subtle hints and start stating your needs with absolute clarity. projecting an authentic security that people can immediately feel. The ultimate freedom of self-restoration. Going quiet and moving inward is a profound discipline of self-restoration. It is an explicit choice to stop performing for those who choose not to see your value. Your worth does not decrease simply because someone lacks the capacity to recognize it. The moment you believe this truth down in your bones, you will never again beg for a seat at a table that was never truly yours. You will simply build your own table, step into your own power, and comfortably observe who comes to sit down beside you.